You drink coffee for energy. Every morning that first cup delivers. The lift, the focus. Your brain finally boots up. But why do scientists keep saying caffeine doesn't give you energy? Well, because it doesn't. Not a single calorie of fuel enters your body. So why does it feel so real? Because it's borrowed alertness, not new energy. The story your brain tells you is wrong. Yet somewhere in this cup is a paradox your brain doesn't want you to see. What exactly is this paradox? Let's dig in and see what we find. Here's the thing about tiredness. Your brain creates it on purpose. All day long, as your neurons fire, they produce adenosine, a sleepiness signal that builds the longer you're awake. It attaches to receptors in your brain. When enough bind, you feel heavy, foggy, ready for bed. This isn't a bug. It's the system working as designed. Adenosine is your brain saying, "You've been going on long enough. Now rest." So what does caffeine do? It doesn't charge your battery. It doesn't pour fuel into the tank. Caffeine looks enough like adenosine to fit into the same receptor, but it doesn't activate it. Instead, it acts like a cork in a bottle. Adenosine keeps getting produced. The tired signal keeps getting sent. You just stop receiving it. Worth noting, researchers say caffeine blocks the brake, not the gas pedal. You're not getting new energy. You're getting the absence of a tiredness message. The tiredness was already building before your first sip, and that distinction changes everything. Here's the issue. While caffeine blocks those receptors, adenosine doesn't stop accumulating. It keeps building in the background, like a bill you didn't know you were running up. When the caffeine wears off, half-life roughly 5 to 6 hours for most adults, all that backed up adenosine floods the open receptors at once. That's the debt coming due, the afternoon crash, the 2 in the afternoon wall. And a second cup doesn't work like the first one. Side note, over weeks of daily coffee, your brain grows more adenosine receptors. Same dose, less effect, harder crash. That's tolerance. Now you've probably seen the viral 90-minute rule on TikTok. Wait 90 minutes after waking before your first coffee. Let cortisol peak, clear some adenosine naturally, then caffeine hits cleaner. Quick history check. This idea blew up through wellness TikToks in 2025 and 2026. Is there a perfect randomized controlled trial behind this theory? Not really. But the mechanism makes sense. You're timing the cork instead of slamming it on at second 0. Bottom line, caffeine didn't fail you. It just can't continue hiding what your brain is telling you. Now we get to the part that breaks people's brains. A study in the Helion Journal tested that question. Why does coffee wake us up, the caffeine or the ritual? 20 habitual coffee drinkers, 1 to 3 cups a day, 8 hours caffeine-free, then coffee. But here's the twist. Both drinks looked, smelled, and tasted identical. One had caffeine added back in. The other was decaf. Double-blind, randomized. Nobody knew. Researchers tracked heart rate, blood pressure, reaction time, brain waves. What they expected, caffeine group skyrockets, placebo flat. What they found, both groups changed. Blood pressure up, heart rate down. The usual coffee drinker response. Reaction times improved in both groups. Caffeine won on one brainwave measure, resting alpha power. But on almost everything else, decaf looked a lot like the real thing. Little known detail, the placebo wasn't sugar water. It was actual decaf coffee. Because habitual drinkers respond to coffee, not just chemicals in a cup. The researchers wrote, stimuli that closely mimic coffee can produce responses markedly similar to real coffee. Your brain may be responding to the cup, the heat, the smell, the first sip. Years of conditioning, not just the molecule. And in 2026, Decaf Curious is having a moment. Mushroom lattes, Hochicha afternoons, unjittered January. This study is the science behind the vibe. Maybe decaf isn't giving up. Maybe it's letting the ritual do the heavy lifting. So if decaf can partially work, what's the first real cup actually doing? Possibly something less heroic than you think. If you drink coffee every day, your brain expects caffeine. Take it away and you get headaches, fatigue, irritability, fog, moodiness. This is caffeine withdrawal, real enough to be in the diagnostic manual. Symptoms start 12 to 24 hours after your last dose. Peak around a day or two. Most people feel better within a week. Now think about your morning. You sleep, fasting from caffeine for 8, 9, 10 hours. You wake up already in mild withdrawal. Then you brew. The headache eases. The fog lifts. The personality returns. Feels like energy arriving. But part of what you feel might be relief. Relief from the gap, not fuel from the bean. That's not an insult to coffee. It's the paradox. The drink that powers your morning might also be that ritual your morning needs to feel normal. And if you ever tried to quit, you know that first week is brutal. Not because you're weak, because your brain rebuilt its receptor landscape around the drug. Decaf curious people aren't being dramatic. They're in a vicious battle with chemistry. So what do we call this phenomena? Let's go with the caffeine paradox. Coffee makes you feel more alive, but caffeine doesn't give you energy. It blocks the signal that you're tired. Decaf can wake you up if your brain learned that ritual. Quitting makes you miserable, but the first cup after quitting feels like a miracle. And here's the twist most headlines miss. Observational studies link coffee drinking with lower depression risk. People share this as proof coffee is an antidepressant. But researchers in 2026 push back. Caffeine may ease fatigue temporarily, while disrupting sleep, spiking anxiety, and relieving withdrawal that mimics low mood. So the coffee helps depression headline might partly mean coffee drinkers feeling normal again after overnight abstinence. Symptom relief, not treatment. That's the paradox in one sentence. The thing you love is real. The mechanism is weirder than the marketing. And your brain is a partner for this con. So, should you still drink it? My verdict, yes if you want to. But drink it with eyes open. Caffeine blocks tiredness signals. It isn't a vault of free energy. The ritual matters more than we admit. Withdrawal is part of the deal. None of that makes your morning cup fake. Placebo gives life to the idea that ritual matters. Conditioning isn't irrational. Your brain learned this smell, this warmth, this first sip means the day begins. That's real. The question isn't whether coffee works. It works is just what happens. That is when your brain is in on the trick. So what do you notice first when you skip your morning cup? Headaches? Brain fog? Or are you just missing the ritual? Tell me in the comments. And if this makes you look at your second cup differently, well, maybe that's not a bad thing. Please like and subscribe. If you want to learn more, visit the website in the description. Thank you.